Picture a massive, just an impossibly heavy boulder.
Oh, yeah, like a giant rock in the middle of the road.
Exactly. We're
Yeah.
talking like 1,000 kilograms of solid, unyielding stone blocking your path. And now, imagine trying to push that out of the way with just your bare hands.
Good luck with that. It's not going anywhere. You're just going to break your back.
Right. You'll exhaust yourself, and that rock will just sit there. But but what if all you actually needed to move that giant boulder was, just 1 single kilogram of force?
I mean, it sounds like a magic trick, but it's really just fundamental physics. It's the sheer undeniable power of leverage. You don't need more strength, right? You just need the right mechanism.
And that brings us to the famous quote from the ancient Greek mathematician Archimedes, give me a fulcrum and I can lift the earth.
Such a great quote.
It really is. And today, we are taking a deep dive into a really thought-provoking and honestly quite unexpected essay by an author named Shufeng. It's titled, Seeking the Best Fulcrum for Life. And the mission of our deep dive today is to explore how this author takes that absolute concept of physics, the principle of leverage, and attempts to apply it to, well, literally everything in human existence.
Which is a huge swing.
Yeah. We're talking about daily wealth, basic survival, and eventually a highly specific quest for spiritual salvation.
Yeah, and which means we should probably set some expectations right up front for the listener.
Definitely.
Because this text, it starts out looking like a standard business or philosophical essay, right? About working smarter, not harder.
Mm-hmm.
But then the author takes this physical law and just stretches it all the way into the spiritual realm.
Yeah, they really do.
Exploring how the exact same 24-hour day can yield 10 yuan for one person and 10,000 yuan for another before moving into some very, very defined religious frameworks.
Right. And just a quick heads up for you listening, this text does make some massive, highly specific religious claims in its second half.
Oh, absolutely.
And we aren't here to tell you if this author's spiritual worldview is right or wrong, or to endorse any of these frameworks. Our goal today is just to impartially unpack the wild mechanics of how this author builds their argument strictly as it's written.
Yeah, we're really just exploring the architecture of the essay itself.
Exactly.
And that architecture is fascinating because it starts with a purely mathematical, cold premise.
Right. Numbers.
Yeah. According to the principle of leverage, if you want to lift that 1,000-kilogram stone, you just need the right spatial ratio.
Okay.
So if the distance from the stone to the fulcrum is 1 to 1,000 relative to the distance from your hand to the fulcrum, then 1 kilogram of downward force easily lifts 1,000 kilograms of rock. The math essentially does the heavy lifting for you.
And the author immediately takes that 1 to 1,000 ratio and drops it straight into our bank account.
Right into the wallet.
Yeah. Using it to explain wealth disparity. Like, why do some people become incredibly wealthy almost overnight while others struggle their whole lives?
Right, because the text points out that everyone gets the exact same 24 hours in a day. You can't manufacture more time.
No, you can't.
So the author argues that the person making 10,000 yuan while you make 10 yuan simply found a better fulcrum. They aren't, pushing the rock with their bare hands.
They found a lever. And the way the author illustrates this point is it's incredibly striking. The essay lists a multitude of ways people get rich, grouping together very different activities to make a point about pure mechanics.
And this is where it gets a little controversial.
Okay, let's unpack this, because I read that list in the text, and I think a lot of people listening would strongly object to how the author groups these things.
Oh, for sure.
The list is practically amoral. I mean, in the exact same breath, the text lists totally standard, socially acceptable things like contract transfers, going to school, and starting a business.
Standard stuff.
Right, but then puts them right alongside embezzlement, theft, robbery, deception, alchemy, printing money, and selling official titles.
Yeah, it's quite the list.
Lumping a college student in with a bank robber just because they both want to improve their financial situation feels like a massive stretch.
Yeah.
Is the author saying morality just doesn't exist in the physics of life?
Well, what's fascinating here is that the author's doing that purposefully.
Really?
Yeah, they're actively stripping away all moral judgment to force us to look at the underlying mechanical reality of human action.
Oh, okay.
Think about gravity, right? Gravity doesn't care if you are a saint dropping an apple to feed a starving child or a thief dropping a stolen diamond.
The mechanics of the fall are identical.
Exactly. The author is arguing that leverage operates the exact same way.
Oh, wow.
Whether you are going to school to get a degree to boost your earning power or picking someone's pocket to get cash, The underlying physical action is identical. You are seeking a fulcrum to maximize your output with minimal input.
So the argument is that the morality of the action is a completely separate conversation from the physics of the action.
Exactly. The text is claiming that the drive to find a way to get more for less is universal. It's an undeniable law of human behavior.
Right.
If you have a good fulcrum, you can, as the text quotes, move 1,000 pounds with just 4 ounces. But if you have a bad one...
You're reduced to being an ox struggling to pull a cart.
Yes, the ox struggling with the cart.
That ox imagery is so vivid.
Yeah.
And it transitions us perfectly from the abstract math into the concrete reality of how we actually survive day to day.
Yeah, the daily grind.
Right. If this is a universal law, how does it look in practice? Why do some people burn out, exhausted, while others just seem to thrive with half the effort?
Well, the essay gives this amazing anecdote about 2 brothers that captures this perfectly.
The brothers selling water to the parched mountain village.
That's the one.
Right. So you have these 2 brothers, and in the beginning, they're doing the exact same thing. They both physically carry water down from a mountain spring to the village.
Backbreaking work.
Totally. They're doing the heavy lifting, walking the same miles,
Yeah.
making the exact same income. But the story flashes forward 2 years.
Right.
The older brother is now prosperous, his wealth is rolling in automatically, and the younger brother is completely bankrupt.
And the crucial detail here is that the older brother didn't achieve this by working harder.
No.
He didn't start carrying heavier buckets or, making twice as many trips down the mountain.
The younger brother is the one who kept carrying water. He stayed the ox pulling the cart.
Exactly.
He was trading his physical time and energy directly for a wage, which is, according to this, a terrible ratio. But the older brother stopped carrying buckets entirely.
Yeah, he changed his method.
Instead, he spent his time building a system of bamboo pipes. He routed the water directly from the mountain spring down into the village. He built a lever.
Right. He took a short-term hit to his income and his time to build an infrastructure. And once that bamboo pipe was finished, it became a fulcrum that did the physical work for him indefinitely. His initial effort was amplified by the mechanism.
It is the classic difference between trading your time for an hourly wage versus building passive infrastructure.
Yeah, passive income.
But the author doesn't just leave it at business strategy. The essay expands this scope to show how literally everyone relies on some kind of fulcrum, whether they realize it or not.
Oh, yeah. The text gives the historical example of the American West Gold Rush.
Oh, this is a great example.
Right. The people who got incredibly rich weren't usually the ones doing the back-breaking work of digging in the dirt for gold.
They were the ones selling the shovels, right?
Basically, it was the person who realized all those thousands of desperate miners needed durable clothes and decided to manufacture cowboy workwear.
Wow.
The merchant used the massive human effort of the gold rush itself as their fulcrum.
And the text keeps expanding that list of everyday fulcrums. It says farmers use the land as their fulcrum. Workers use their physical labor. Teachers use the classroom. Small business owners use their shops. But then it gets into human relationships, which feels a bit provocative.
Yeah, it pushes the boundary a bit there.
It claims wives use their husbands as a fulcrum. Husbands use their families. Kings use their people. Spiritual leaders use their followers.
It is a very clinical, comprehensive view of human interaction.
Very clinical.
The author defines the principle of leverage in life very clearly at this stage. It is the act of achieving maximum results with minimal time, effort, and investment.
Okay.
According to the essay, that is the invisible engine driving everything we do, from our careers to our marriages to our governments.
But if leverage solves the problem of daily survival,
Mm-hmm.
if it gets you the water or the gold or the money, what happens when the timeline extends to infinity?
Right. The big pivot.
Yeah, because right when you think this text is just a clever breakdown of socioeconomic dynamics, the author makes a massive shift. They ask, what happens to all that brilliant leverage when you die and you can't take the bamboo pipe with you?
This is the major turning point of the text.
Yeah.
The author begins to differentiate between everyday lowercase life, meaning our physical survival, our jobs, our bank accounts,
Right.
and uppercase life, which they define as our eternal spiritual existence.
To make this shift, the author brings in a quote from Jesus. Even if one gains the whole world but loses their life, what good is it?
Yeah.
And looking at it through the lens of leverage, the argument here is that rushing back and forth desperately seeking worldly fulcrums, building the biggest bamboo pipe, selling the most cowboy hats, or even becoming a king is an enormous, catastrophic miscalculation if you ultimately lose your uppercase life.
It's an incredibly inefficient trade, essentially.
Right.
You spend all your limited mortal time building a magnificent lever to lift a pebble while completely ignoring the mountain. The author argues that we have to seek the absolute best fulcrum for uppercase life. That way, when the time comes and others are desperately struggling for mere spiritual survival.
Like the younger brother still trying to carry water buckets as he faces his own mortality.
Exactly. When they're struggling, we are already leisurely enjoying the joys of paradise.
But here's where it gets really interesting, because the language the author uses here is so strange. The text is essentially framing spiritual salvation as a mathematical investment strategy.
It reads very much that way. The language is unapologetically transactional.
It really is. I mean, the text literally advises you, the reader, not to waste your short earthly life going from house to house, strolling through markets, or watching spectacles.
Your time for fun.
Right. It says you need to quickly seek out the best fulcrum so that you can invest a sesame seed and gain a large watermelon in return.
A sesame seed for a watermelon.
It actually says it would be foolish not to seize such an opportunity.
Well, the author hasn't abandoned the physics, right? They've just applied it directly to the divine. Okay. If the ultimate goal of leverage is maximum return for minimum investment, then finding the right spiritual fulcrum is the greatest possible trade a human being can make.
Wow.
A sesame seed of earthly effort for a massive watermelon of eternal paradise. It's applying the exact same cold logic from the very first paragraph about Archimedes to the concept of the afterlife.
Okay, so if we accept the internal logic of the text, that we need to find the absolute best spiritual fulcrum in a world that is, frankly, incredibly crowded with different religious and spiritual groups.
Oh, very crowded.
Right. What exactly is the ultimate 1 to 1,000 leverage point? Where are we supposed to put the lever?
The author provides a very specific synthesized answer here.
Okay.
According to the text, the three best fulcrums for uppercase life currently available to humanity are Buddha, Shakyamuni, Christ Jesus, and Lifechanyuan.
And what's wild is that this isn't just a multiple choice list where you pick your favorite one.
No.
The author assigns incredibly specific structural roles to each of these three. It is described almost like building a cosmic vehicle out of different religious figures.
That is a very helpful way to visualize it. How does the text actually break down the mechanical functions of these three components?
Well, it says Buddha provides the vessel, the structure. It's the spiritual boat that allows you to sail across the sea of suffering to the other shore of life.
Right.
But a boat sitting in the water isn't going anywhere, right? It needs power.
Right, it needs a motor.
So the text says Christ provides the living water, which the author explicitly defines as the energy.
Got it.
So now you have a vessel and you have the energy to propel it. But a fast boat without a steering wheel just crashes. You still need to know where you're going.
You need navigation and a map.
Exactly. And that is the third component. The author says Lifechanyuan provides the roadmap to heaven, which is the way of life, or the consciousness.
The consciousness, okay.
Yeah, so you took the structural discipline from Buddha, you fuel it with the active energy of Christ, and you navigate it using the specific consciousness of Lifechanyuan.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the author is presenting a grand unifying theory here. By combining these three specific elements, structure, energy, and consciousness, the text claims you achieve the perfect life-antimatter structure.
Wait, I need to stop you there because I'm genuinely confused by that phrase.
Sure.
The text says combining these teachings creates a life-antimatter structure. What does that even mean in a spiritual context?
It's a bit out there.
Yeah, how does combining Jesus as energy and Buddha as a boat create antimatter?
It requires a bit of deduction based on how the author uses physics metaphors.
Oh, okay.
So in actual physics, antimatter is the opposite of normal matter. When they meet, they annihilate each other.
Right.
In the spiritual context of this essay, matter represents our physical bodies, our worldly attachments, the buckets of water we carry, the money we chase.
The physical stuff.
Yeah, that physical matter decays and dies. So An antimatter structure represents building a non-physical eternal self.
Oh, I see.
By taking the structural detachment of Buddha, fueling it with the spiritual vitality of Christ, and directing it with this specific roadmap, you are constructing a spiritual self that isn't bound by the laws of earthly decay.
Wow.
You're building a self that survives the physical death of the body.
Okay, that makes sense mechanically within the metaphor.
Yeah.
But how do you actually pull this lever?
What do you mean?
Like, is the text suggesting you just read about these three things and suddenly you're saved? Does it require meditation? Giving away your money?
Well, the text implies that utilizing this roadmap is the lever itself. Remember the rule of leverage. You want to do this with minimal effort and in the shortest possible time.
Right.
The author argues that trying to figure out the mysteries of the universe from scratch, all on your own, is like pushing the boulder with your bare hands. It's impossible. Yeah. But by aligning your consciousness with this pre-existing antimatter structure, the synthesized cosmic vehicle, your minimal earthly effort is amplified by the massive spiritual machinery that Buddha and Christ have already put in place.
Oh, so you are tapping into an infrastructure that someone else already built.
Yes,
Just like the villagers tapping into the older brother's bamboo water pipe.
precisely. You don't have to carve the mountain yourself. You just have to turn the spiritual faucet.
And what is the ultimate destination of this cosmic vehicle? Like, what is the final payoff of finding this ultimate spiritual fulcrum?
It's pretty grand.
Yeah, according to the text, it is not just a vague, cloudy concept of heaven. The author claims that with this perfect fulcrum, you can journey from the human world directly to a highly specific place called the Celestial Islands continent of the Elysium world.
The Celestial Islands continent of the Elysium world. That is the grand watermelon you receive in exchange for your earthly sesame seed.
Let's take a breath and just look at the sheer distance we have covered in this deep dive.
It's been quite a ride.
It really has. I mean, so what does this all mean? We started with Archimedes and a mathematical physics of a lever. We applied that to the harsh realities of wealth disparity, realizing that the difference between 10 yuan and 10,000 yuan isn't about hard work. It's about finding a better mechanism.
Right, the bamboo pipe.
Yeah. We looked at the bamboo water pipes of everyday business, understanding that trading time for money is a terrible lever. And then we followed the author's logic all the way up into the spiritual realm, exploring a blueprint that synthesizes Buddha, Christ, and Lifechanyuan into a vehicle to reach the Elysium world.
And every single step of that journey is connected by that singular, unyielding idea, the pursuit of the best leverage to maximize your output. It is a lens through which you can view literally every action you take, both physical and spiritual.
Which brings it right back to you listening to this right now. The text challenges you to audit your own life. Look around at your daily routines. What are the fulcrums you are currently leaning on?
Right. Are you carrying water in heavy buckets down a mountain, exhausting yourself for minimal return? Or are you taking the time right now to build a bamboo pipe?
That's the question.
And perhaps more importantly, are your current fulcrums only serving your immediate daily survival, your lowercase life, or are they aligned with whatever you consider your ultimate long-term goals?
It is a fantastic framework for self-reflection, regardless of whether you agree with the author's specific religious conclusions or their rather amoral view of human behavior.
Oh, absolutely.
The physics of effort versus reward is always at play in our lives.
It is. And exploring this essay, this raises an important question, something for you to mull over that pushes just a bit beyond the boundaries of the text itself.
Okay, what's that?
Well, we noted earlier that the author casually observes how kings use their people as a fulcrum, and spiritual leaders use their followers as a fulcrum.
Right, the very clinical idea that human beings are constantly, inevitably using each other as leverage.
So think about the mechanics of that. What happens to the lever when the fulcrum itself decides to move?
Oh, wow. I actually haven't thought about it from that angle.
If you suddenly realize that you are not the one holding the lever, but that you are actually the fulcrum being used by someone else, your boss, a politician, an institution, or even a spiritual leader, how does that realization change where you choose to stand?
Yeah.
A massive lever is entirely useless if the fulcrum rolls away.
You have the power to stop being the rock someone else is using to lift themselves up. You can choose where to place your own weight.
Exactly.
Because at the end of the day, whether you are trying to lift a boulder, build a water pipe, or find your way to the Elysium world, you can't push the world with your bare hands. You need a mechanical advantage.
You need a fulcrum.
And maybe Archimedes had it right all along. You just have to make sure you are the one holding the lever. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the mechanics of life, wealth, and the cosmos. Keep questioning, keep building those bamboo pipes, and keep seeking your optimal fulcrum. Catch you next time.